So, everybody, Tucker Carlson's journey to the dark side or the light side, depending on your perspective, continues. Tucker Carlson goes on. What's the name of this guy's show? I always forget the name of this guy's show. What is it? Sean Ryan? Yeah, Sean Ryan. And talks about how the Republican Party is essentially useless at this point and not worth his support. Let's take a look.
And on the Republican Party, which is almost to the point where it's just useless, and I'm going to have to oppose it because I hate them too much, but because they're such betrayers. But anyway, in the Republican Party, it's like, you a socialist? Are you from Mondani? No, not really a socialist. Just, I don't want any more dollar stores. I don't want high density housing in my neighborhood. I don't want any more fucking strip malls that nobody goes to. No more karate studios and vape shops. Like, how about no?
Like a socialist to me, getting warm. He sounds even more like a socialist when he goes on.
City housing in my neighborhood. I don't want any more fucking strip malls that nobody goes to. No more karate studios and vape shops. Like, how about no? Ooh, socialist? You don't believe in the free market because you bribed a fucking county commissioner to build more garbage? You don't even live here? Mm-hmm. In a normal society, we'd like burn your strip mall down. You can't do that here.
Sound like a socialist there. Can't do that here. What else?
He's a freaking anarchist, man.
Yeah. Here we go.
Your strip mall down.
He wants to burn the strip mall.
You can't do that here. You can't turn my women into prostitutes. Sorry, OnlyFans. And you can't destroy the landscape that I live in. No. How about no?
Sounds like Joseph Stalin to me. I always thought I hated Stalin. So it turns out I kind of like him. Who knew? The more I talk, the more I realize, I had this guy all wrong.
And so we jumped up on the table and shouted anarchy.
Yeah. See, the thing is, and I feel like I don't know if he Tucker clearly holds his fire at certain people. Like, he clearly won't go directly at Trump yet, right? Won't name that name yet, right? Just the way it took Marjorie Taylor Greene a long time to name Donald Trump, right? So he won't say, he'll say, yeah, I'm not a socialist, I'm not from Mamdani, but I don't want your strip malls, and I don't want you turning our women into prostitutes on OnlyFans. Well, if OnlyFans is not a symptom of end stage capitalism, I don't know what is, because OnlyFans is a perfect example of people selling the only thing they have left to own, which is their own skin, right? The reason OnlyFans is so successful is because people have nothing left to sell. So if you give people literally the only thing young people own is their own bodies. They don't own cars. They don't own houses. They don't own stocks. They don't own enough capital to start their own businesses. They have nothing. They work as serfs for their feudal overlords, which pay them garbage. And the only way to get ahead for a lot of people is to commodify themselves. Like, that is a symptom of capitalism. That's what he's talking about. So, yeah, he does sound like a socialist here. He sounds like a big-time socialist here. Sounds like a revolutionary socialist here, talking about burning down strip malls because you turned my daughter into a prostitute.
I'm really sick of this shit, man. Sex work is work, Keaton.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a very positive experience for most people who engage in it. And if you don't say that, you're a really ignorant bigot promoting bigotry against sex workers.
Yeah, no, I know. I know you're joking, but it like, in all seriousness, I think prostitute is a strong word to describe OnlyFans people, but the point still remains. It is the commodification of the flesh. Commodification of the flesh is a symptom of end stage capitalism, because if you own nothing else, you can't commodify anything else, right? So that's a symptom of capitalism in its final stages.
Sure. And setting all that aside, it's horribly exploitative. Like, most of the people on there don't make any money.
Right.
Or a minimal amount of money. I honestly can't think of anything that is a greater example of the way that meaningful left critiques have been subverted by just absolutely batshit social justice ideology that, again, I've come increasingly to believe did not evolve organically, that it's a psyop. What kind of a left is more focused on the individual freedom to peddle your ass on a platform where people are being horribly exploited. Like, what kind of a left is not more interested in the exploitation than the existential questions of liberation and identity?
Right. Right. I mean, like, we toiled on YouTube for a while before we made a dime. We didn't have to show our pussy every show, you know.
No,
Like,
no, we did that after the show.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
It's not crazy,
private.
is it?
No, it's not. I mean, no.
And you can't take all my tax dollars and then refuse to do anything about child molestation.
Oh, really?
The
'Cause
whole
just
reason
see it-
you exist, county commissioners, is to protect my daughters from getting molested. But you won't because, like, why?
Good question. Good question. And of course, he's speaking to, you know, a shift that is happening, particularly amongst young conservatives here. We talked about this with Mike Rectenwald a little bit earlier. Do you sympathize more with Israel or Palestine? Republicans, 18 to 29. Now Palestine is the winner amongst that cohort. And this is why this, among many other issues, are tearing the right apart. And this is where you're seeing these fault lines begin to really take shape in an unmistakable way. And here Tucker goes on to talk about how a lot of influential people on the right have turned their back on free speech and anti-identity politics, so to speak.
Fairly influential people on the right who've just basically said out loud, I'm for censorship and identity politics. We just had an election a year ago this month in which Republicans won because they were opposed to, let's say it, censorship and identity politics. And then their voters find out that a lot of the leaders of the party are totally for censorship and identity politics. How does this continue? Well, I'm out. I mean, I know that, but so are a lot of other people. Like, would never vote. I don't care what you call yourself. If you're for censorship and identity politics, two things that I truly, on principle as a Christian, oppose, I'm not voting for you. Period. Ever. So that's like a big, big change. Like, the veil is dropped. We can see, like, you're walking back from the shower and your towel slipped, and I saw what you look like naked. I can't unsee that. Right? Has that ever happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
You see what someone looks like naked, and you're like, I want this out of my head. I don't want to know.
And if you're Donald Trump or Jeffrey Epstein, according to accounts, that was quite an eyeful of malformed cock.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, here he is, and this is a point he's made before about his realization that a lot of these rich people who he grew up around, I mean, Tucker's very open that he grew up, you know, wealthy, are not such exceptional people, but that they're actually kind of stupid. So here he is calling Jeffrey Epstein a fucking moron from Staten Island.
Feel okay about that, and I feel bad for anyone around me who's been hurt by it. It certainly wasn't my intent. I think that's good. But one of the things we've learned is that the people who are really kind of running America's foreign policy, whether it's Lindsey Graham or whomever, these people are not geniuses at all. Like, they're dumb. They're dumb. They're just mediocre. Jeffrey Epstein is my favorite example. Because Jeffrey Epstein lived his life basically in the shadows, like, you couldn't really know where the money, you still don't know where the money came from, or like, what's the goal of this? What is this? You can't know because it's all secret. Classified, national security, da, 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 da. You start to...
Right, there was no conspiracy, but it's all classified, right? And that's how you know they're really telling the truth about. Yeah, why is it all so hush hush? If there's no ring, if there's no sex trafficking ring.
Assume that Jeffrey Epstein is this, like, Svengali, and he's a genius, and he's controlling everything. And then you read his emails. He's like a fucking moron from Staten Island who can barely speak English. He's like dumb. He's totally impressed by Harvard. He went to Cooper Union. He's impressed by Harvard because the brand name impresses him. It's like wearing a polo shirt with a horse on it. He thinks that's cool. He's totally unsophisticated, actually, and not smart at all. He's
I realized the same thing whenever, you know, because now you're seeing footage of him start to talk and you read these emails. Yeah, just a mediocre person.
Yeah.
But what is his trait that pushed him to the top above everything else? It's amorality and ruthlessness. And that's what Tucker gets to here.
crafty. He's got high canine and animal intelligence, but he's not a genius at all. He's a dummy. He's a thug. And that has been, like, kind of amazing to see. His only real advantage is that he's evil. He'll do anything. He's got just no limits at all. Like, you need to kill someone, we'll do that. If we have to, we'll do that. And that
Need to buy up 40% of the houses on the market so that individuals can't afford a house, even if they are middle class or upper middle class, they get outbid by your corporation. Yeah, we could do that. You see how you could apply that to capitalism broadly, right? Mediocre people who are so amoral that they're willing to just do anything until they're checked. Yeah, that is a function of capitalism more broadly. The Epstein case is a particularly sort of cartoonish example, but this applies everywhere. Applies everywhere.
That person, the unscrupulous person, does have an advantage because there are no boundaries, right? So if your goal is to get rich or powerful, you can get there faster if you'll do anything to get there. Doesn't end well, ever. Didn't end well with him. But that's really what I learned, is that the people who are mad at me call me names because that's literally all they can do. Shut up! You can't speak at that event. We don't want you on stage. We're deplatforming you. Okay, I don't care really, but like,
who's saying that to you?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
what
I don't even want to go through. I don't want to make it about me.
Well, it's not about you. It's about, in this example, it is Zionists who are doing that.
Right.
And, talk about censorship plus identity politics, right? What group is more guilty of that? What group of people, what cohort of the political space relies more on censorship and identity politics than Zionism, than the Zionist lobby? So, he hits on a whole lot there. But what you see is another example of the MAGA coalition just falling apart. I mean, once you lose Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's a crushing blow. Now you got Tucker Carlson saying, I can't vote for you if you're pro-censorship and pro-identity politics. That is a very sort of veiled shot across the bow to a J.D. Vance type. I mean, you're basically disavowing this incarnation of the conservative movement, which he was so instrumental in propping up. And the more this goes on, the more you see. There was that meme that we posted in the last time we talked about this, when Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned, that collage of figures who now represent MAGA. Who is MAGA now? Sheldon Adelson. I'm sorry,
Right.
Miriam Adelson, Ben Shapiro, just that whole cohort, Randy Fine. Yeah, Cat Turd, Randy Fine, like that's it. And these people are being filtered out. Did not take long.
Yeah, the problem is that's not a sustainable political project. You barely had a working consensus for what MAGA was before. I always say this, the idea Donald Trump has some kind of witchcraft. I mean, he has certain skills. I do not believe that he ever would have been able to beat any kind of credible candidate. He drew Hillary Clinton. He drew a pandemic where he basically wiped his ass with an N95 mask in the Oval Office and so lost to Biden. But Biden was certainly not any kind of a meaningful candidate. That's the only reason he won. And he runs that against Kamala Harris with her 78-day campaign, which she wants to use as an excuse now. She could have had 1,078 days. That woman could not have won a presidential election. Probably would have been worse. Exactly. Where you would have had more clips of her talking.
Of course.
So Trump never won an election. The Democrats lost 2 elections. He never won an election, in my opinion. I don't think he ever would have won against anyone with any kind of meaningful chance of winning. Any Democrat not as ridiculous and hated as the people that he beat would have beaten him. So what do you got now? Like, now that the whole MAGA coalition has fallen apart, that's why you've got a 52-point deficit with independents, 52 points. That's how you wind up with that, because everybody who actually believed in the project walked away. And don't forget, look, we want to talk about United Front, and I believe in that, man. Like, anybody who wants to get with you to stop Israel funding, work with them and sort out your differences later. But as we'll get into a little bit in my segment, don't forget what these people are for. A lot of these people are mad because Doge didn't cut enough public spending. Like a lot of them, the lesson of this is not a lot of these ideas are bad. The lesson is they didn't go far enough or they didn't do what they promised. And that's not just about the Epstein files. You got people saying, "Oh, Doge was doing a great job. What happened?" This is still what you're dealing with. I think for a lot of people who are politically homeless, when you see Marjorie Taylor Greene, when you see Thomas Massey standing up on a principle that, frankly, you really don't see on the Democrat side at all. There's been a lot of consternation. We talked about Mamdani endorsing Jeffries for the Speaker of the House. Yeah, man. I mean, you really don't have anybody in the Democratic Party who wouldn't do that. You do have that in the Republican Party. But remember, man, Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for the big beautiful bill. Like in the end, a lot of the core issues that these people have with Donald Trump is that his horrific agenda was not properly executed, or he didn't go far enough with things that have already had terrible impacts.
Yeah, well, that's why seeing these fault lines kind of emerge is interesting, because on the one hand, you have like people thinking Nick Fuentes is going to take up the mantle of America First. And I don't think that's the case. I think the 2025 results were a prelude to an even louder
Yes. Right.
rebuke of
Right.
this whole movement, to the point
Right.
where anyone to Trump's right is just going to be boxed out. Which is why it's interesting when you see Tucker talk about, well, I'm not a socialist. I just don't want strip malls taking over the town. I don't want people so degraded and so stripped of any other kind of value that they're forced into only like that. That's a different kind of critique. That is a more
Right.
legitimately populist critique. That's also Marjorie
Right.
Taylor Greene's critique. That's not Massey's critique on economics, even though Massey is very strong on anti-censorship and foreign policy. So
Right.
what you're really seeing this kind of complete reshuffling of the deck on the right. You have the absolute useless chuds who are just going to go down with the MAGA ship, like the cat turd. You're not going to hear
Right.
from them for
Right.
much longer. They're going to be irrelevant
Right.
pretty soon.
Right.
They're already much less relevant than it looks like they are. As we
Right.
talked about in the last show, a lot of the accounts that boost those accounts are bots, right? But I think you're going to see them become totally irrelevant over the
I
next
never
year or
saw
so.
those film clips, man. Like now I'm seeing more of them of the phones all hooked to
Yeah,
wires.
all
I
hooked up
didn't
to
I
the
didn't know
computers.
that's how that works.
Yeah, that's how that works. There's an analog component to it at the end of the day, right? But then you see stuff like this, and like what Tucker's articulating and what Marjorie Taylor Greene is articulating, that is a viable path forward for the conservative movement. I think Massey's embrace of just total laissez-faire economics is just not viable. I think people are going to vote very strongly against that. Don't forget, folks, all this stuff we're talking about, this is before healthcare premiums double. This is before the one big beautiful bill really takes effect in a meaningful way. And I think the deportation shit. I mean, don't forget, a big critique of Nick Fuentes is deportations are too slow. That is just not gonna be mainstreamed in any kind of viable way moving forward. I think the more meaningful discourse right now is happening in that sort of Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of lane.
It is.
Yeah, which is why they go viral just about every time they open their mouth, right? That tells you something. That tells you that's the new kind of center, at least for as conservative politics go.
And really, I mean, because of that history and the social justice movement and its excesses didn't really go away. Like it didn't really get repudiated. And that's one of the reasons that as you see this rising left that Mamdani kind of emblemizes, you don't really see them speaking out on censorship broadly writ. They speak out on censorship about Palestine.
Right, about them.
Like they have not really had a reckoning with their speech codes and the things that he's describing. I mean, it's funny because it did go away now in the Trump era. Like you read an op-ed that's talking about them giving out phone numbers to students to complain about thought crimes. It seems like it's from another era, but it doesn't really seem like the Democrats as a party have moved away from that. And one would imagine if they got back in power, probably that reckoning would come, because you would probably have some who understand how much that fueled an alt-right movement, but some who, their bread and butter is identity politics, who are going to want to go right back to that.
I mean, there are people who took there are people, believe it or not, who took the exact wrong lesson of the Biden years and said that they blame the resurgence of Donald Trump on the government not cracking down more on the quote unquote alt-right from 2021 to 2024. Why did you even let them back in the game? You should have just decimated them, the way Trump is talking about decimating the left now, right? Which is, of course, the completely wrong lesson. It's impossible. Tucker says in this interview, we didn't clip this for the show, but he says you just can't kill an idea. You cannot shut down an idea.
Right.
You can't stamp it out of existence. You have to reckon with it. That's what politics is by definition.
Well, and frankly, I'm surprised more of the conspiracy-minded QAnon MAGA base is not thinking this through. We've been arguing from the beginning that ICE is the construction of a domestic police force. It is not really about immigration. You don't spend, they could shut down illegal immigration tomorrow by going after a few employers. So why you want to spend, and that's very cheap. Why you want to spend billions of dollars building facilities, building a national police force? That's for you. Okay. So what do you think these Democrats who in polls said they wanted people who wouldn't take COVID vaccines in camps, what do you think they're going to do with their own personal national police force and detention facilities? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to send them after the alt-right. They're going to send them after right-wing terrorists. They're going to come for you. They're going to come for the very people saying, this is what I voted for. Okay. Wait until they're at your door, man, with the face masks on.
Yeah, exactly.
Please clap.